You ever move somewhere thinking you're signing up for peace and quiet, but end up smack in the middle of some weird suburban power trip? That's the story I'm about to tell you. And believe me, even after all these years, it still feels like something out of a movie. One of those wild ones where the villains wear golf shirts and carry clipboards instead of ski masks. I wish I was making this up, but nope, this is the real deal. So picture this. My wife Sarah, 5 months pregnant and glowing, just wanted to take her evening walks around prestigious Oaks, the kind of neighborhood you see in real estate commercials. Perfect lawns, polite nods, all that jazz. Nobody there knew Sarah was actually Sheriff Sarah Miller because honestly, she liked being just another neighbor. But let's be real, we should have known things were getting weird the day the new HOA board rolled in. They came with promises, property value, this community, standards that, and pretty soon every tiny thing became a violation. And leading the charge was this guy, Gary Pullman, the so-called community standards officer, who strutted around in a fake cop uniform with a badge that probably cost more to make than his whole training did. He had this old golf cart painted navy, flashing yellow light on top, looked like a cross between a security guard and a carnival ride operator. You know what I mean? At first, it was just funny watching him hassle kids for skateboarding or measure lawns with a ruler like he was prepping for the Rose Parade. But the vibe got darker fast. One Tuesday, Sarah left for her walk like always, and when she came back late, I could tell by the way she slammed the door that something had gone way past wrong. She sat on the couch, hand on her stomach, face pale, and said, "You're not going to believe this." She told me how Gary cornered her by the old oak tree, got in her face, and started grilling her about what she was doing. When she answered, just being polite, the guy actually sneered and said, "This is a no-fat community. You're exceeding the acceptable girth." I mean, who says that? To a pregnant woman, Sarah asked if he was actually saying her pregnancy broke some HOA rule, and he just puffed up more, waving his hand at her like she was an eyesore. She tried to step around him, but he grabbed her arm hard, and when she told him to let go, he shoved her. She didn't fall, but it wasn't for lack of trying on his part. Now, if you know Sarah, you know she's calm under fire, literally. She hit him with that cold, quiet stare, told him he'd made a big mistake, and he just smirked, climbed into his golf cart, and rolled off like he'd won something. That's when my own blood pressure hit the roof. You can insult me all day, but you lay a hand on my wife, my pregnant wife, you better be ready for consequences. We iced her arm, bruising already starting, and Sarah, ever the pro, said we needed to document everything. Next morning we went to Dr. Evans to get the injury checked out, and I gotta say he was more furious than I was. He wrote everything down, gave us a report, and told us to keep it safe. That's when Sarah turned on that sheriff mode, not with guns blazing, but with calm, deliberate steps. We sent a formal complaint to the HOA and the management company, laying it all out. Gary's assault, the discriminatory nonsense, and the demand that he be fired and apologize. We thought maybe, just maybe, they'd do the right thing. You know how that turned out. 3 days later, a letter showed up from the property manager, Mark Jenkins, a guy who always looked like he was 2 coffees short of being awake. He wrote, "According to our investigation, Mr. Pullman was enforcing community standards, and Mrs. Miller became agitated. Oh, and he claimed Gary just gently guided Sarah away from a sensitive landscaping area." Right, like shoving a pregnant woman is landscaping now. Then they suggested Sarah review the bylaws as if she was the problem. I swear I nearly punched a hole in the wall. Sarah just read the letter, lips tight, then gave a slow, grim smile and said, "They put it in writing. Good." We started talking to neighbors quietly at first, and wow, the stories came pouring in. Mrs. Henderson, who lives 2 doors down, said Gary had screamed at her 4-year-old grandson for riding a tricycle too fast. Tom, the quiet engineer, got a warning because his recycling bin was unsightly. Nobody else got shoved, but it was clear Gary wasn't just a fluke, he was the tip of a rotten iceberg. But that's not even the best part. As if to double down, the HOA slapped us with a violation for a wreath on our door, said it broke the aesthetic code. Sarah checked the bylaws, nothing in there about wreaths or body size or any of Gary's fake rules. It was just them flexing, seeing if we'd back down. That night our kitchen table looked like a crime scene, letters, bylaws, ice packs, Dr. Evans' report, neighbor, statements, you name it. Sarah decided it was time to take the fight to their turf. She requested a formal meeting with the HOA board and insisted Gary be present. That was when things went cinematic. The meeting was in this little clubhouse, cold fluorescent lights, board members looking smug. Brenda Hatcher, the board president, tried to play Queen Bee, thanking us for coming to clear up this misunderstanding. Gary was there, arms crossed, fake badge shining. Sarah sat quietly while they ran their mouths, then leaned in and said, "Let's be clear. There was no misunderstanding. Your officer assaulted me based on a non-existent rule, and I have proof." Brenda tried to steamroll her, but Sarah just raised her voice a notch and said, "You might recognize my name, Sheriff Sarah Miller, Sheridan County." The air left the room. Gary's face turned ghost white. Brenda stammered, "Sheriff," and Sarah nodded, explaining what Gary did, what the board covered up, and how all of it was going to be dealt with legally and publicly. She told them to expect a call from the DA's office and our attorney. Sarah recused herself from the case, of course, but her chief deputy, Frank, took over, and the district attorney, Eleanor Vance, was all over it. Within a week, Gary was arrested, charged with assault and harassment, facing a real judge instead of HOA stooges. Meanwhile, the DA started pulling HOA records, finding all sorts of dirt. Brenda running things like a fiefdom, funds missing evidence of targeting anyone who stood up to her. Gary's trial was something else. Sarah testified calm as ever, laid out exactly what happened, and Dr. Evans backed her up with medical proof. Gary's lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. Maybe Sarah was hormonal. Maybe Gary just got carried away. But the jury wasn't buying it. Less than 2 hours of deliberation, and they found Gary guilty. He got jail time, probation, and was barred from ever working security again. The civil suit shredded the board. Brenda's own people turned against her, revealing all the little schemes and intimidation tactics. The new interim board rewrote the rules, made everything transparent, put real protections in place. Our wreath. Still hanging, and now half the neighborhood has one too. The clubhouse got renamed Liberty Room, a little inside joke for those who were there the night Justice walked in wearing a sweater and baby bump. And you know what? A few months later, Sarah gave birth to Emily, healthy and beautiful, and for the first time in a long time, we felt like our home was actually ours again. Not because we won some lawsuit or put a bully in jail, but because we stood up together as a family and as neighbors and said, enough. That's all it takes sometimes, just one person refusing to back down. So, let me throw this to you. Where's the line between rules and abuse? Have you ever stood up to an HOA or a bully who thought a little power made them untouchable? Tell me your stories down below, because I have a feeling there are more of us out there than you'd think. And maybe, just maybe, if we speak up together, we can turn even the nastiest neighborhood into a real community again.